forward screen share. Okay, I'm with Pete, and we're about to create a cold calling strategy for his cold outreach. While I'm doing this, Pete, if you could copy and paste below the cold email script you're using that we worked on, just so that we could just easily pull the value props here and go from there. So, but this is gonna be a raw video. It's not gonna be edited. Let's just make it happen. Okay, great. By the way, you consent to being put on my YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, great. Okay, sweet. Cold calling script. So there's two phases of cold calling. The first phase is going to be the gatekeeper in your case, most likely, unless you have direct dials. And the second part of it's going to be once you reach the decision maker. So we're going to create a gatekeeper script, and we're also going to create a decision maker script. Okay, and we're going to separate them like this. Whoops. Great. And before we do this, though, we need to keep these metrics in mind. Okay, we need to have dials per day, reaches per day, meetings booked per day, reach rate, percentage, reach to book rate, percentage, and dial to book rate percentage. So I will give some examples of this. Man, my computer's really freezing. Let me close some of these. So close this, close this. Oh, I can't close you. I'll close Spotify. Very good. Okay. So reach rate is like 100 dials, 15 decision makers on the phone. But reach to book rate is 15 decision makers on the phone, 3 meetings booked. And this one is 100 dials, 3 meetings booked. So ultimately, this is the one that we're trying to, this is the most important metric, but it's a consequence of the above metrics. And when we're doing cold outreach, what you really want to keep in mind is lead versus lag measures. So a lead measure is something that you can control directly, and a lag measure is the outcome. So for example, 100 dials a day, that's a lead measure. You can make 100 dials a day. Maybe one day you won't book any meetings, and then the next day you'll book a bunch. Like today, I've only made 40 dials and I've booked 3 meetings already, right? Other days I'll dial 80 times and I won't book anything. So, but over the course of 1,000 dials, your lag measure of meetings booked will be a consequence of your lead measure. And that's the most important thing to watch, but you also need to look at how your reaches are impacting your conversions. For example, when I get someone on the phone, I almost can always book them in. I can get like a 30% reach to book rate. The challenge is reaching people. So then you're gonna have to play around with time of the day that you call, the numbers that you call, that kind of thing, the tool that you use to call. And if you're getting like a 5% reach rate, no matter how good you are on the phone, you're never going to actually book enough meetings because you're not reaching enough people. So these are all things that you need to measure. I recommend using a tool like AirCall. You're using high level. You can also even use a Google Sheet if you want to just be bare bones from off the bat. And the last thing you need to do is record your calls so we can listen and improve. And we also need you to commit to 50 to 100 dials a day, ideally 100. Because if you do 100 dials a day, you're probably going to book a meeting or two. And the bottom line here, if you book 2 meetings per day, 5 days a week, you'll close 4 or so clients a month. And that is what you need to succeed. We have Paul over here. What's going on, Paul? You're not a loner for now, Pete. You do have another P name in here. You're getting some competition. Okay, so this all makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So now let's talk about Gatekeeper Script. So the Gatekeeper is, you have to keep some stuff in mind about the Gatekeeper. The Gatekeeper, their entire existence, their job is to screen salespeople and let the right people through. So really your whole job here is not to be a sales guy. It's to just get through and pretend like you know them without lying. So worst thing you can do is pitch to the gatekeeper. Best thing you can do, act like you know the decision maker and don't lie about it. So what do I mean by that? You shouldn't be like, hey, like I have a meeting with him today. Let's talk. You don't want to lie because it's gonna get back to you. And if they ask how you got through, like you're gonna look like a jerk. It's just not good. It's never good to lie. Don't lie. What you can do though is make them assume the close and act confident and seem friendly and like you know them already. And that really will come through, first of all, in what you say, but more importantly, how you say it, right? If you say, hey, Jane, I'm Pete. Can I talk to this guy, please? I have this thing I want to share. It's like, no. If you were calling somebody and you are confident that you just want to get through to them, you just say, hey, John, please. Just like chill, good tone, direct. So here's a script. So what's going to happen is the gatekeeper is going to say, hi, this is gatekeeper name with company. How may I help you? And by the way, if you're calling really small, like dog daycare places, they might not even have a receptionist. You might just get the person on the phone. Although if that's the case, they're probably such a small company, you probably don't want to work with them anyway because they don't have enough employees. And then you're going to say, hi, gatekeeper name. This is Pete. Can I speak to decision maker name, please? Or you could say an iteration of this. You could just say, decision maker name, please. Just like something like very direct. So she answered, you want to listen to their name, and because it's very good to use people's names, and you want to sound familiar. You're saying their name, your name, and the person's name. So it just sounds like you guys already know each other. They're gonna just say, hey Jane, this is Pete. Can I speak to John, please? And have like a downward inflection, like John, please. Not John, please. John, please. Downward. And then they're gonna respond, and they'll probably say, sure, may I ask who is calling again? And then you just say your name, right? You say, Pete, do you know if, decision maker name is available? Oop. Right? And just like the goal here is be like, yeah, it's Pete. Do you know if John's available? Like back on them again. It's like what's going on right now is you guys are sparring. Like they're punching at you, and then you need to kind of slip the punch and punch back. Instead of like getting backed up against the ropes and talking and talking and talking, just slip the punch and punch back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they'll probably say, gatekeeper, what is this regarding? Because they're already going to know that you're a salesperson. Sometimes, by the way, if you say it right and you sound very confident, they'll just transfer you. Like honestly, I usually get, I'm giving you the plan B if it doesn't work, of how you handle it. Sometimes you just won't get through. Probably most of the time you won't get through, but this will get you through. And if you sound good, they'll transfer you. So you say, when they say, what is this regarding? You could say a few things. You want to make it sound, and by the way, this is a framework that I'm giving you. Feel free to play around with this and like tweak it and make it your own and try an A/B test, but don't change it after one call. That's why I want you to do 50 calls a day, measure the outcomes, and then try new things. So like if you're not getting past the gatekeeper, then don't worry about changing your decision maker script. Like change this, how you do it or what you say, make 50 more calls, try again, and keep iterating. In fact, you may even want to create a Google Sheet where you can measure like and attach it to a script and like measure the outcomes. So what is this regarding? There's a few ways you can answer this. You could say, regarding your Google Maps listing, decision maker name should know who I am. I'll hold, please. Or it could be following up on the email. Or you could say, regarding the email I sent, decision maker name, I'll hold, please. Thanks. Or you could say, if you want to be bold, regarding our email thread, which technically if you sent two emails, you have a thread going, but like that's a little bit more,
Gray area.
area. But like basically you don't want to say I'm calling from this marketing company to help you generate leads. You want to, and you don't want to say like, you don't want to say Google ads or it's regarding your SEO. You want to say like your Google Maps listing. And you could even say like, yeah, there's a few issues with it that I noticed. Like for example, like even, I mean, this happens all the time. I'll go to, don't you hate it when you go to a store that's supposed to be open until midnight and they're closed and their Google Maps listing is wrong and you just get pissed off, like that kind of thing. That's actually, I would say, yeah, regarding your Google Maps listing, I'll hold please. And if she keeps asking, just be like, yeah, I noticed a few things I want to tell him about. I already sent him an email. He should know who I am, and just like get through back and forth. If this doesn't work at this point, you're probably not going to get through, but you probably will get through. I would try and say 15% of the times you get to the gatekeeper. Oh no, sorry. 15% dial rate is what you should be getting. Dial to reach rate. You should probably be getting like a 50 to 60% answer rate of these phone calls, and probably like a 20% to 30% past the gatekeeper success.
Okay.
Any questions?
Mm-mm.
Okay, great. So I would say with this, definitely keep track of how many answers from gatekeepers and how many times you get through to the right person. And by the way, this might require you to follow up because they might say things like, he's not in right now, call back later. He's not in right now, call back later. Take a note of what they say, write down everything that they say, write down their name, everything. And then when you call back, say, hey, Jane, we spoke a few days ago. Is John in again? Right? Like, and they'll be familiar with you and you can just write. So that's how you do it. Okay. So that's that. Very good. If you want to skip this process altogether, by the way, and just get right for the decision maker, and I don't think that this tool will actually have your target market in, which is why I think you should just use the phone number. But I use this tool called Seamless, which gives me decision maker direct dials for B2B companies like SaaS companies. I have a feeling this will not have your target market because they're so small in terms of like, you know what I mean? Like they're not that public. So I think actually you'll have to get past the gatekeeper. Okay. Drum roll, please. Come on, give me a drum roll. Okay, there you go. Thank you. All right. So here's what you do. So they're going to answer hello, and you're going to say, hi, decision maker name. Let me actually think about this. This is something that I would say. So when I was calling, I used to do local business cold calling. I mostly call executives at SaaS companies now, but I was doing calling for a client a while ago where I was calling truck drivers, like truck driving businesses, and they need DOT, Department of Transportation, physicals and drug screens to be able to drive. So, and I was calling for a clinic that offered those with 0 wait times. So I would call the gatekeeper and I'd say, hey, this is Jacob from, and I actually didn't even know who I was supposed to speak to. I said, hey, this is Jacob from HFIT Occupational Health calling in regards to your employee drug screens and physicals. Could you help me out and let me know who's the best person to speak with about that? And in that case, even though I didn't know who I was speaking to because it sounded official, they would almost always tell me who it was and even transfer me over. And then once I got transferred, they'd say, hey, and I'm like, hey, this is Jacob from HFIT Occupational Health. I just called about your employee drug screens and physicals, and I was told that, you're the person I should speak with. Do you have a moment to chat? So I instantly told them who I was, why I was calling, and I asked them a quick question to get them to engage. I don't think that strategy will apply here exactly because it's not a health, it's a marketing service. But the first thing you need to do when you get them to answer the phone is just get them to engage, just get them to say something. So there's a lot of different theories here. Some options. You could say, this is Pete from, what's your company name?
It's Roofamp right now.
What are you going to say your name is now?
I don't, probably like Dog Care Accelerator or something like that. I don't want to say marketing and I don't want to say, anything like that. But
I don't know about accelerator. I would say probably fine. We'll just say that for now. How are you? That's one. You could say, this is Pete from Dog Care Accelerator. Do you have a moment to chat? This is Pete from Dog Care Accelerator. I called about some issues with your Google Maps listing and was told I should speak to you. Do you have a few minutes to chat? Or you could say, is now a bad time to chat? Things like that. If I were you, I actually just use this one. Here's the thing. Some people say you need to ask, do you have 27 seconds for me to tell you how I can get this and this and this? I don't like doing that. My personal opinion, the best thing to do is open up with a quick opener. What are they wondering when you answer the phone? They're wondering, who is this person? Why are they calling me? And why should I care? And until you tell them that, you're not in good shape. Have you ever heard of gong.io?
Yeah.
So they did a study and they found that the best opener is, hey, this is your name from your company. How have you been? That was like one of the best openers that they had as far as impacting book rates. Because have you been sounds familiar. What I do is I say it with a smile. You can hear in my voice if I'm speaking like this, or if I force myself to smile, you can even hear it in my voice. So I'll call them, and based on their tonality, I'll just say, hey, John, it's Jacob from Service Bell. How's it going? And then they're usually like, from where? And I'm like, Service Bell, like ding. And then they just laugh. And then, or they think I'm a weirdo and they hang up, but they'll usually laugh. And then they go, great, how are you? Right? Okay, bam. Point is, you just gotta start the call off, your name, your company, and then just quickly get them to engage. I think you're fine for simplicity's sake saying, how are you? Or actually, I think this one would also be good. Just calling about some issues with your Google Maps listing.
I get that call all the time.
Google
honestly.
Maps listing?
Yeah, I wouldn't use Google Maps listing. I would use something else, but I'm probably just gonna go with the how are you, just because I get calls from Yelp. I get calls from random people who said, hey, your Google My Business listing needs to be verified. And I'm like, you're talking to a digital marketer. I've already verified my listing like years ago. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
okay, fair enough.
And so if I'm getting that, I imagine
getting
other small businesses are getting spammed by that as well. And that would just be a hang up.
That might need to improve your pitch then. Well, no, here's what I would say then. Okay, great. So I would say we're doing a framework here. I'll try and make this a little bit more obvious. So the framework would be hopefully, was this call going to get killed if they end the meeting or no?
I hope not.
I hope not. Okay, so this is going to start and it's going to say, you're recording this, by the way, right?
I'm not.
Okay, I think I'm recording this.
You're recording.
Okay, no worries.
We gotta tell Justin to not end it.
Opener, let's say call opener. And then the goal here is to get them to engage quickly. And be human. Okay, great. And then the next thing you're going to do is reason for the call / value prop. So you want to work in the framework of this. The reason I'm calling you is, that's what I always say. The reason I'm calling you is bam. And it's because people want to know why they're getting the call very quickly. So, hey, John, Jacob from Service Bell, how's it going? Great, awesome. The reason I'm calling you is value prop. And I think this is really where we can just probably pull from this. I recently helped another dog trainer get an extra 36 dogs in the door by improving their Google Maps listing.
Some of the other things I think we could do is because we could also say, hey, we got X without spending money on ads or something like that, right? Because that's another pain, right? Oh, I spent all this money on ads and stupid marketer took all my money and left and I didn't get anything in return, right? So that's another one we could do.
Okay, great. So you can workshop these and create different value props. And this is, again, where the A/B testing comes in. But the next thing you need to do after this is qualification question. And generally, it's like really important to pair this with a good value prop. And you want to ask a question that gets them talking about their current state of the union. So like what I'll do is, this is my script. So I'm selling Service Bell, which I think you've seen in action before, right?
Yep.
So I'll be like, hey, Jacob from Service Bell, how's it going? They're like, great. I'm like, awesome. The reason I'm calling you is, or actually recently I've been saying, I've got a quick question for you about company name. The reason for the call is I've got a quick question for you about company name. And I say, so Service Bell, it helps sales teams call leads at the peak of their interest, which is while they're actively on your website. It's kind of like live chat, but with video. And I'm calling you because I'm curious to know how you're currently handling inbound lead response right now. Probably a little bit wordy, but it works. And I asked them how you're currently doing this now. And it's an open-ended question. You have to ask an open-ended question. I would say how is probably one of the best ones. Because I'm talking about their current state of the union. and it gets them talking about things that they don't necessarily always say, oh, I need this, I need this. I would say 1 out of 10 people will want, after the value prop, will instantly be like, how does it work? Or like, I'm on your site right now. And then I call them and then it's game over. But usually they start talking about something. So at that point, you have to listen, feed back to them what they said, and then get them to keep talking until you can book a meeting. But for now, the qualification question is important. So I would say, let's think about it for you. The goal is to get them to talk about something that you can then use to your advantage. How are you currently, what would you say to try and get them to like start talking about their current inbound marketing?
So I would probably ask, like, how
what's
are
the
you
problem that
currently?
they're having?
Usually it's growth. Usually it's predictable growth, right? But they don't think of it in terms of predictable growth. They just think of it in terms of, sometimes I got a lot of dogs in the door. Sometimes we've got dead days, right? Like, how can we get it so that we can consistently generate more boardings or more training or inquiries or more grooming inquiries, whatever it is, right? On demand.
So you could ask, like, how are you currently getting
So yeah, normally I like, if I'm in a discovery meeting with somebody, usually the question is like, all right, how are you currently getting like new customers now? Like, what are the things you're doing to generate new customers? And they usually can go on a tangent along that.
Curious to know how you're currently getting new customers right now, or getting more paws in the door right now.
Yep.
More paws in the door. There's actually a really good video about this that I wanted to show you. I want you to see. It's like, oh, I need to block this. What am I doing? You can tell a lot about me by my by my home feed recommendations. Let me block
Mine's
this.
the same way. Mine's usually like lo-fi chill video game music.
There we go. Okay, I usually keep that blocked. Okay, so here is the let's see, cold calling or cold call question. I kind of forget what, like, the name of the, I'll have to find it afterwards. They do a podcast where they talk about oh, the podcast was from Cognism. Oh, I cold called this guy, actually. It's pretty funny. I need to get him on. Oh, here we go. Here we go. This is what it is. He talks about asking a question that gets them talking about their problem. I would definitely recommend checking this out.
Okay.
And that's how you
drop it.
Yeah, that's kind of how you frame the question. So I would test out this one. Maybe you can modify it a bit with the stuff in that video, but generally what you want them to do is you want them to start talking about their current state. So then you're going to go into objection handling. And this is really where the prospect is going to throw a bunch of objections at you. They could say, and you have to write these down. They could say like, I'm all covered, thanks. You could say like, we have lots of dogs coming in already. We already have a guy for this, etc. Here's basically how you overcome this. There's 2 ways. One is, and this is hilarious, one's called labeling and one is called mirroring. Have you read Never Split the Difference?
Yep.
Okay, great. So you already know what this is. So labeling, you could say, it sounds like you already have a good system in place to get new paws in, and or whatever they said, and they'll be like, yeah, exactly. Or you could say, already have a system, and then basically you're going to get them to keep talking, and you want to mirror until they give enough info up such that you can label them and get them to feel like you understand them. So if someone said to me, like, an objection that I get is, we already have a team that calls our leads back. And I go, oh, great. It sounds like you already have a system in place for this. And they're like, yeah, we do. And then I'm like, well, awesome. How does it currently work now? And then they go, well, we have reps that will use outreach to respond to leads. and da 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 da. And I'm like, okay, great. Do you know how long it takes for them to respond? And they're like, usually within a day. And then I go, did you know that you're 21 times more likely to reach someone and qualify them if you respond within 5 minutes as opposed to even half an hour? And Service Bell can help you do it in just seconds, which can dramatically increase your conversion rates. And you see what I'm saying? And now they're thinking, and then they go, how does it work? And that's once you get them in that stage where you overcome their objection and you move them forward by essentially what's going to happen is they're going to give you objections. You have to label and mirror, and then it goes back to the sparring again of like slipping the punches. And eventually you're going to get to the point where you go for the close. And this is going to happen. This could happen in seconds if they're really interested. This is rare. Usually it takes 3 to 4 minutes of conversation before you can move them into the close. And that's where you need to sell the meeting. You need to, by the way, always make the ask. Always make the ask. Use their momentum against them. Sell time, nothing else. Okay. Your goal for this call is to get them to take a meeting with you. Say, here's how you do it. CTA. Okay. You need to say something like this. It sounds like there are a few ways I can help you get more dogs in the door. That I love to show you. Or you could say, it seems like there's some low-hanging fruit here. I'd love to show you how I helped the other dog trainer get 30 more dogs in the door within a month. Are you available, later this week to chat? Right? And then say, okay, great. Wednesday or Thursday morning or afternoon.
What if they say, I'm ready to talk right now?
Then do it on the spot. You could do it on the spot, but
Service Bell is a software, so you've got a demo like put together and ready to go on demand.
Well, because Service Bell is such a novel idea, my goal is actually to demo them instantly on the call, because when they see Service Bell, everyone who sees it is like, whoa, this is so cool. And then they get hooked in and they'll talk to me. Like today I had a woman talk to me for 20 minutes after a cold call. She read me a poem about prayer, actually, because I told her about my kippah. And she booked a meeting with 2 other stakeholders because she saw Service Bell. But you can't do that. You're selling a transactional agency service that everybody already knows about. So it's not going to work like that for you. And then what you need to do is, what's your email? Phone call or Zoom? What do you want to do? Did you get the invite? And then send a follow-up email. So this is kind of how you close the call out. So basically you open with a quick opener, you give them a value prop as to why you're calling that piques their interest, and you immediately ask a relevant open-ended question to get them talking, hopefully about the problem that you solve. You listen carefully and you navigate their objections by labeling and mirroring and asking follow-up questions to keep them interested and keep them talking. And once they start saying, yeah, well, maybe we've been trying to do this or that, but it hasn't been working. Okay, great. I know I caught you out of the blue, but I would love to, show you how I can help you next week. It'll take 15 minutes. Are you around Wednesday or Thursday? And then get them, and then, okay, great. Morning, afternoon, great. 2 or 4 p.m. Awesome. What's your email? Send you an invite. Do you want to do calendar or phone call, Zoom or phone call? Awesome. End the call. Send them a follow-up email at the end of your day saying, thank you for the conversation. It was great to meet you. Looking forward to discussing X, Y, and Z at this date and time. I would just, in final notes, is like, try to book the meeting within a few days of the call to increase show rates.
And then this meeting is a demo meeting, not a discovery meeting per se.
This is demo. Sorry, discovery call. This is a discovery call. You're piquing their interest, but on the call by saying you're gonna do this. But once they get on the call, you say, I'd love to show you how I help this other company. In order to make this more relevant for you, I'd love to understand what you're currently working on and what your goals are. And I can show you sort of what I did for them that'd be relevant to you. And then you go into discovery and then you show them on another call.
Got it. So you set the expectation that you're going to show them something. And so they're like, oh, well, I want to show up and see it. And
you don't want to like bait and switch. You don't want to bait and switch, actually. I would say the call to action should be like, don't imply that you're going to show them something on that call. I would just say, I would love to like Well, kind of. You kind of are. You're kind of saying, I want to show you how I helped someone just like you, X, Y, and Z. Let's schedule a call. I can understand what your priorities are right now, and then I can show you afterwards sort of how I help someone just like you achieve X, Y, Z goal. And it'll take 15 minutes every time, right? And then they might say, then you're going to deal with objections here that are like, send me an email, this or that. I would say final notes, write down all your objections and record your calls and make 100+ calls a day. Let's go.
And go for no.
Oh yeah, and
10 no's a
go
day.
for 10 no's per day. That's what you gotta do.
Okay.
This is the cold calling strategy right here. Let me stop my screen sharing and the recording.